Okay, hopefully this is the final portion of the Learning Plan 7 lecture. Long lecture, but seriously, this is an important lecture. Communication is how we do our business. And if we can't communicate properly, if we can't work with other people cooperatively and constructively, how are we going to be benefiting our patients? We're not. So it's very important to understand the different types of personalities that are out there, the different ways to handle these personalities. And actually, the more you understand, the easier it is to communicate with everybody. But conflicts will happen. And we just talked about the 5 sources of conflict just recently. How do we handle conflict? Well, I mentioned it first off. Deal with the issues, not personalities. Talk to the person who you're having a problem with. Tell them what they're doing. Not that they're rotten, nasty, horrible, even if they are. Don't say that. Give a concrete example. I don't like that you blah, 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 blah. Trim your fingernails at the workstation. Whatever. Take responsibility for yourself. Make sure that you understand if you are contributing to a problem, that you acknowledge it. Be open. Communicate openly and listen actively. Don't just point out their faults and then walk away. Listen for their responses. They may have an explanation. You don't know. Person comes in and they're crabby. They're having a bad day and they start snapping at you. You don't know what's going on inside that person. You don't. So if you tell somebody that you think that they're being inappropriately sharp with people, if they explain, they may give you an explanation, listen to it. Now, that doesn't necessarily excuse bad behavior, but sometimes if you understand the foundation of that bad behavior, you will be more forgiving of it. Sort out the issues. Find out what's going on and what can be done to resolve it. Identify the key theme. There's always a key theme in every discussion. So find out what it is. Is it time of day? Is it type of patient? Is it coworkers? Is it doctors? There are so many different things that can cause a conflict. It's really hard to give a concrete example, and it's very hard to find one resolution that applies globally. It doesn't. You need to find different resolutions for every person and every problem. Always weigh the consequences. Person's having a bad day. They're snapping. Patients are still getting good care, and they're not snapping at the patients, they're snapping at coworkers. What's more important? Resolving and pointing out the issues that one person's having, that they're being irritating to their coworkers? Or is it better to just say, let's see if this goes on longer? If it's a one-day thing, is it worth confronting somebody? Probably not. If they are generally a good-hearted, kind, relaxed person, and today they come in and they are cranky, hey, we've all been there. You don't necessarily have to confront somebody immediately upon seeing a problem. But if it becomes recurrent, if it becomes an ongoing issue, then deal with the issues, take responsibility, communicate openly, and listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means we should listen more than we talk. Yeah, everybody says that. Now, there we go, 5. I'm still getting used to working with the camera, okay? This is very new for me, okay? There are 5 ways to resolve every conflict. 5 potential ways. Let's talk about these 5 methods of conflict resolution. Okay, these are 5 methods of conflict resolution. Let's talk about them. I need to get my markers. So, we're going to talk about these 5 methods of conflict resolution. These are not personality types. These are not personality issues. These are 5 methods of conflict resolution. And I'm going to use an example. I like examples and analogies because we all, in my mind, if I can put something into my pictures, into my brain, I understand it better, and I'm hoping it helps all of you. I'm going to use an example that I think we can all relate to. You and a coworker are working on a Friday night, right? And one of you wants off. Or actually, no, let me rephrase that. You and a coworker are working on a Friday night, and you both want Friday night off. But only one person can get off, right? So I'm working and John's working. We're both working Friday night, and we both want off because, well, let's say it's my birthday and it's his anniversary, or something like that. There are how many methods? 5 methods of conflict resolution. The first one, win-lose. Win-lose. Another way of saying win-lose, competition. Now, when we say win-lose, the first word would be me. And the second descriptor is the other person. In win-lose, I win, he loses. I get off, he has to work. Direct competition. There's a winner and a loser. In win-lose, I'm the winner. Sorry, John. Celebrate your anniversary on another night. That's win-lose. Win-lose is competition. Right? How about lose-lose? What's lose-lose? Do you know? That's called avoidance. In lose-lose, that means I'm losing and John's losing. What happens in lose-lose? We both go home and he goes home to tell his wife that he's working. I go home and tell my wife to cancel the party. I'm working. We both work. Neither one of us takes off. We both lose. It's called avoidance because neither one of us is trying to win. We're just giving up. We don't even try to take off. We don't try to find a solution. We just say, forget it. We'll have a party some other day. So lose-lose is avoidance. Now, passive people tend to fall in that category. But this is called avoidance or lose-lose, not passive. Aggressive people tend to be competitors and engage in win-lose. But this is not called aggression or aggressive. This is called win-lose and competition. We're talking about methods of conflict resolution, not personality types. Personality types play, sorry about that. I hope that didn't make too much noise. Personality types play a component here, but we're talking about win-lose or competition, lose-lose or avoidance. How about a lose-win? What's that called? That is accommodation. All right, so what do I mean by lose-win? Okay, now remember win-lose. I get off, John works. Direct competition. In lose-lose, we don't even attempt anything. We just both work. We're avoiding a conflict. We're avoiding the issue. So lose-lose is avoidance. In lose-win, I go to John and say, tell you what, I'll work, you take off. Now, how is that bad? Is that bad? It depends. Again, passive people will do this. Go ahead, you take off, I'll work for you. What happens when you start doing that on a regular basis? I would imagine that in my group of students that I have that are watching this right now, there's at least one person who does this all the time. That's fine if that's your choice. Nothing wrong with that. But how does that person eventually end up feeling sometimes? taken advantage of, abused. Yeah. So that's not actually a good outcome if it happens too much. Now, there's a modified win-lose. Or what I like to say, another way of saying this is no lose, no win. I kind of win and they lose, or neither one of them. This is a better one. No lose, no win. I don't lose, John doesn't win. It's a compromise. What does compromise mean? Let's say we both want Friday off. I say, John, tell you what, why don't you take your wife out to dinner and I'll cover the first half of the shift. Then you come in for me so I can go home to my wife's surprise party that she's throwing for me. Neither one of us wins because neither one of us gets the night off. But neither one of us totally loses because we do get some of the night off. It's a compromise. However, in a compromise, is anybody ever really happy? Truly? Because we're both giving up half of a shift. So John really can't take his wife out to celebrate their anniversary, can he? Because he can't go out and buy that nice bottle of wine and then come to work. And me? I have to give up 4 hours of my party that my wife is going to throw a surprise party. So she has to reschedule, and it's a nightmare. So, again, not a great outcome. It works. It's common to have compromises, but it's not the best possible outcome. How about win-win? Collaboration. In a win-win, we both get what we want. So how does that work? How about this? We both want Friday night off. We work together, we go to our other staff members, and we find 2 people to cover for both of us. We work together so that we both can win. Or it might be, let's say our schedule is Friday and Saturday night. We get together and we decide that John would actually rather take his wife out on Saturday night because he doesn't work Sunday. So I'll get off Friday, he'll get off Saturday, and we both end up getting really what we want. In a collaboration, everyone wins. Everyone's happy with the outcome. In a compromise, you're not angry with the outcome, but you're not happy. No lose, no win. So let's cover this one more time. In a win-lose situation, in a win-lose conflict resolution, using direct competition, I win, he loses. I get the night off, John works. In a lose-lose, we don't even talk about it, we just work. We are avoiding a conflict. And how does that generally makes just everybody angry? In a lose-win, I voluntarily give up. I just forget it, John, I'll work. You just take the night off. That's not going to make my wife very happy, is it? So, in accommodation is the opposite of competition. Competition, I'm fighting to win. Accommodation, I'm like, oh, go ahead. I'm not going to fight you for it. You take it. Now, when both parties want to be accommodating, then you end up with the no lose, no win, or the compromise. In competition and accommodation, one person gets what they want, right? Competition, I get what I want. Accommodation, John gets what he wants. In no lose, no win, nobody gets exactly what they want. In win-win, that's where we somehow find ways to modify our schedule so we both get what we want. That is the best possible outcome. It's also the most difficult. It requires a lot more work to have a win-win outcome, but it can happen. Accommodation and avoidance are probably the most common because it avoids conflict, right? Conflict resolution using ways that avoid conflict. In a lose-win, I'm just like, forget it, I'm not going to even bother. You just go have fun. And lose-lose, we're both like, no, we'll just work. It's going to be easier if we just work it and deal with the consequences at home later. All right, so these are five methods of conflict resolution, not personality types. Remember, an aggressive person might be a competitor, and a passive person will use avoidance and accommodation, but those are not conflict resolution types. Those are personality types. And this is not talking about personality types. This is talking about conflict resolution. Have I covered this enough? Have I? Hint? Hint? Win-lose, competition. They mean the same. Lose-lose and avoidance means the same. Lose-win is accommodation. No-lose, no-win, compromise. Win-win, collaboration. When you do get into a problem, stand up for yourself. Don't get run over. If you need to step aside figuratively, do that, but stand up for yourself. You deserve what you want too. So work to get that collaboration. Work to get to that win-win. Don't default to the avoidance lose-lose or accommodation lose-win. Don't just let that be your default position. And a win-lose competitive environment is also very challenging for everybody. Work for collaboration. Give them time, give the other person time to explain what they feel. Maintain eye contact as you talk with the person. Don't argue with them. Don't try to override them. If they're talking, don't try to talk over the top of them and talk them down, because that's not going to work. When they finally hear what you're trying to say, be ready to be friendly. Truly, when you resolve a conflict, even if the conflict can start out heated, usually when you resolve the conflict, it works out much better. Remember these 5 methods of conflict resolution. Now, there is something called lateral violence or bullying. And you may have heard the phrase, nurses that eat their young. And all that means is sometimes older nurses, experienced nurses, tend to put the new nurses through the grinder, through the ringer. Pick your metaphor. They feel that the new nurses have to earn their way, earn their respect. They have to pay their dues just like they did when they were a new nurse. And so they're taking anger and resentment from their past and projecting it forward. That's wrong. That's wrong on every level. See, what that is, the whole, you have to earn it, you have to pay your dues, that's anger with a nice smiley face put on it. Anger has 2 components, guilt, which is anger inward, and resentment, which is directed toward others. So when that nurse treats you terribly, gives you the worst possible assignments, doesn't want to help you, doesn't want to explain things, because, well, she had to learn it on it, or he or she had to learn it the hard way, so that's what you're going to do. They're actually guilty They're feeling angry at themselves because they didn't stand up for themselves when they were young. And they have resentment toward you for expecting what they didn't ask for. So when I see any one of you out in the workforce with an RN after your name, treat the new people better than you were treated. Okay? Don't take it out on them. They had nothing to do with how you were treated as a new nurse. Now, I speak this as from experience. When I went to the floor as a new grad, it was miserable. It really was. There were some nurses that just seemed to want to try to make you quit. And that's what they'll do. They'll say, I'll make you or break you, but if you make it past me, you're going to be good. Well, guess what? That's not correct. It causes stress. It causes anger. And how do we handle anger? Well, there's a lot of ways of handling anger. There's some good ways and some bad ways. Good ways could be yoga, exercise, go fishing. I love to fish. I love to catch and release, because catching the fish just gets messy. But I'll catch and release. Watch a TV, read a book, write a book, journal, blog, whatever you want. A lot of ways of getting your emotions out. What are some bad ways? Drinking, alcohol, drugs, hitting people, taking the anger from work home. And, I don't have to say this, but I had to say it anyway. Those are bad ways of handling it. Now, am I saying you can't ever have a drink? No, I'm not. But using alcohol as a relief mechanism will cause you problems. Not if, it will. There's sexual harassment, and that's pretty much, everybody knows about sexual harassment, unwanted sexual advances, or harassment and harassing environment. Give you just a little bit of a background from my perspective. Sexual harassment could be me telling a nasty joke in front of somebody, and that could be perceived as sexual harassment. So when I'm on the job and I'm surrounded by women, I'm I'm always very careful to keep things professional and level, right? On the other hand, when I'm surrounded by women and they're talking about everything under the sun, it goes both ways. So remember where you are and what you're doing and who you're talking to, because you don't know who could be around you and be offended by what's being said. I have a very thick skin. It's water off a duck's back to me. I laugh. I don't really care. I don't. I understand for what it is. It's girls talking about girl things, and I'm just one of the girls. Not really, but Jason, you're going to be in the same position as I am. As a man who's a nurse, you're going to be surrounded by women, and maybe you already are in your job right now. You're going to need to develop a thick skin toward their attitudes, actions, and comments to and around you. And everybody else in the classroom, just listen, because what I'm talking to him is reflecting to you too. Because you need to remember that sometimes us, men, do not want to hear about things that you're doing, just like you don't want to hear what we're doing. So it goes both ways. I'm not saying anybody is sexually harassing anybody, but you don't know what that other person might be feeling. It doesn't bother me, but it might bother Jason. So stop. Just stop it. What can you do if it bothers you? What's the first thing you do? You tell the person to stop. How hard is that? Just say, could you guys hold that conversation somewhere else, please? First step. Direct. I'm not being rude or obnoxious. I'm not being aggressive. Just that your discussion bothers me. Could you please do it when I'm not around? Put your statement in writing. Send an email to that person, keeping a copy for yourself, so that you can say, look, I showed them. I actually gave them a statement in writing. If that doesn't work, talk to your supervisor. Talk to your supervisor and say, I'm experiencing this. Lastly, you can file a formal grievance if you need to. I've never seen stuff like that go that far, but those are the steps. Guess what? You survived Learning Plan 7. 2 left. Learning Plan 8 and 9, and then we're done. So, if you have any questions, as always, shoot me an email. Join me on the Friday morning chats. And keep up the good work. I guess that's the final statement. Just keep up the good work. Have fun. Remember, 5 methods of conflict resolution. You might want to know that.